risk, because to your question about funding an idea, that's really where venture capitalists kind of start. So imagine the first person that wanted to create a mobile phone in the era of, Mr. Phones and and those fixed line telecoms. And they said, actually, we want something you can walk around with. At the time, as a novel idea, you can imagine skeptics going, that will never work. If it could be done, why wasn't it done before? And then you had that one or two people that said, actually, I don't know if there's value in this. I don't even know if it can be done at all. But if they can get it right, the opportunities for growth, I can make 100, 1,000 times the money I invest today. So that's how venture capitalists work. But they also target sectors that are very high growth. So if you want to start a book printing business, for example, don't knock on a venture capitalist door. They will always say no. Not because your business is not viable, not because the business doesn't make sense, because the business doesn't suit their type of business.
High risk, high scale.
High risk, but also very high return, because the two things must talk to each other. If it's just high risk, but the return is not high, then why am I risking my money? Right? But what you'll find is that maybe with the book manufacturing business, printing business, it's not as high risk and high potential, but it's stable, right? If you're printing books for the Department of Education and they supply them to school kids across the country, you have a captive market, right? They're not going to pay you a lot of money, but they will pay you enough for you to recover your costs and maybe make a small return. So a traditional bank might actually want to fund your business because it's safer from a credit risk perspective, whereas a venture capital is going to say it's not worth my while. Because I want to get multiples of what I invest, 100, 1,000. If I invest here, maybe you'll pay me 10% interest. It's not worth it. So that's the venture capital side of things. And then on the other side, and this is particularly if you're starting up a business, maybe you have an idea. A colleague of mine likes to call it friends, family, and fools money. And that's really people who buy into your idea just because either they know you or they like you or they trust you. So family,
or you've
friends.
got a beautiful smile like me.
If it works, do that. And those people typically invest in your idea. Other people call them angel investors. So again, you have an idea.
So you are answering the question.
I'm blending them into one, right? I tend to do that. I'm saving you time. I'm saving you money. And those people then would probably not give you a lot of money, but they help you get started. Because you can then sit across from a potential funder, from a potential venture capitalist, for example, and say, here's a prototype of what I want to do. I've invested my own money that I sourced, whether it's crowdfunding or whatever the case is. I have proven that this product actually works. I now need you to find me to scale up. And if the scale makes sense, if the potential return makes sense, a typical venture capital funder would be interested, but you kind of need an angel investor to get you started, right? And then you get what we call development funding institutions. You have the likes of NEF. I'm sure I can name drop this because they are government owned. So you and I kind of own them in any event. Your national empowerment funds, your IDCs that really provide funding to businesses that must be viable on the one hand, but with a developmental mandate. Maybe they have a huge potential for job growth. Maybe they are catalytic in a sense that the existence of that business actually enables other businesses and ecosystems to develop around the area. So it makes sense for them. Again, you need to understand what your business offers in terms of what those guys are trying to do, so that you match your need to the funder who has similar objectives. Because I always say one of the reasons people get rejected for funding, you are knocking on the wrong door for the right opportunity. So that's why the question you asked is fundamental and very important. As an entrepreneur, do you understand what the type of funding you require is? and where that funding can come from. So now this is a segue into different types of funding available to entrepreneurs over and above where you can get them from, which is what we just discussed. The way you can fund a business is really grouped into two things. It's equity or owner's capital, which is usually the small bit for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And then the other is debt. This is now people who don't know you from a bar of soap giving you their money and hoping you're going to pay them back. And again, how do they get that comfort? It's that mysterious document we spoke about called the business plan, because it tells them what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and why does it make sense that your business would potentially thrive.
So where do you guys fall in? Do you guys fund from early stage, or is more on the growth phase of the business?
So primarily on the growth phase of the business. It may have some late early stage elements depending on the type of business, but our sweet spot is really around helping you grow your business. It does then say, and I think it's a challenge to the overall financial sector as an industry in South Africa, for you to get businesses to grow, somebody must have helped those businesses to start. Who is that somebody? I spoke about angel investors now.
Venture capitalists.
Exactly, but remember they have a very limited scope in terms of who they fund. And also, given the kind of society we are in, your angel investors, your friends, family, and fools,
and your customers
need to have, yes, but you have to offer something to your customers first. And how many people can readily give you R1 million today to risk on a business venture? Probably not that many. How do we bridge that gap? Because what then happens is, it's almost like when you have just finished university and you wanted to get credit, and then your retail shop says, I can't give you credit because you don't have a credit record. And then you say, but for me to have a credit record, somebody must give me credit first.
Yes, like, go buy a fridge.
Right? So go buy a fridge so that somebody can say, oh, at least I can see somebody gave them credit and they paid it back. But somebody is got to start. And I think that early stage in angel investor bit is something we don't have a lot of in this country. And it's something we need to solve for somehow.
Okay. So perhaps tying into that, help us understand the difference between grants, loans, and equity funding.
Sure.
In your experience, which is best suited for early stage versus growth stage of the business?
So grants everybody loves.
Of course, we all
because
love
you don't
grants.
have to pay it back.
Hey, it's